Hello everyone. I wanted to make this video and I wanted to be very concise, but I also wanted to explain what I previously left off, because sometimes I make a video and it's like it is amazing and people get some things, but it generates more doubts, more questions than originally were. So I wanted to be concise, but I also wanted to be very clear and explain exactly what I do. So reviewing from the last time I did this, we have a player which was a normal player. As you can see, the attributes are normal. It has great attributes like any normal player. I bought that from auctions, and this was a player that was in an account level 4, and I trained, as you can see, barely touching the grays, and if I touched some gray attributes, it was the ones that were like responsive to an AMR. Like if it were to increase some value, it would be shooting and finishing, maybe some strength and heading, because I was planning on doing a triple formation like MR, AMR, striker. So I didn't touch any other gray values. I increased only the whites mostly, and then I sold the player. I sold the player from a level 4 account to a level 9 account. This meant a reduction, and as you can see, from a level 9 here, this is another account. This means a reduction of 100% in all values, but mostly on grays. Get it? So the player was 140%, but because it was transferred to an account that was 5 levels above, and you can corroborate that with the table, it decreases everything 100%. It decreases the average quality 100%, it decreases all the attributes 100%. But the thing that makes this a mutant is that you train this player. You train this player on the Y attributes. And then, because you had this process of negotiations, you decrease all the values 100%, but the Ys are already higher because they were trained. And thus the mutant starts to being created. And this is a mutant level 5. Now, to start with the training, I wanted to show you how you're supposed to train a mutant, an MR, right? And the first thing you're supposed to do with this is to calculate the values and have into account the 180 rule. In this case, I'll use pass, go, and shoot. Remember, in this drill, there are 3 attributes being trained. Therefore, when collectively among the 3 attributes you reach to 540 is when you find the limit and you're supposed to stop. In this case, that's what happened. If you have the attributes that you're seeing in shooting, speed, and passing, you're gonna reach that's like 540, like 538 most of the time, because the numbers actually have decimals and they don't go to exactly 540, they go to 537, 538, 539. Okay, so if you were to train an MR or an ML, the first drill you use will be pass, go, and shoot to increase speed and passing. And then you would go to skill drill to increase creativity. And this drill is going to be very, very long. Here you're seeing a little bit, a little cut up portion of it, where I can actually see the values that I have in heading, which is 2%. And I start making the calculation, when is this drill going to run out, when I want to find the limit. And that's 2% of heading plus 103 of dribbling plus 174 of creativity. So I have 279, but that's what I have. How much do I need to reach the limit? It's like I still have 261 points to reach 540. And now if I take into consideration that every 15 percentage points the average quality increase of 1%, then all I have to do is divide by 15 and see how many times that will happen. In this case, that will happen 17 times. So I have to raise the average quality 17%, which is the same to say that I have to train with skill drill until the average quality is at 70%. That's how you calculate a drill, and that's how you measure the limit. Like being efficient and trying to come up with a quick way to train, and you make these calculations and you just skip the whole thing and you don't have to guess or waste rest or anything. So we just skip, right? We are now at 60%. We get the 4-star, yay, and we continue. A skill drill is one of the most tedious drills. I mean, along with warm-up and video analysis, is so annoying. So annoying. It takes a long time. But it's worth it because you need that creativity. And see, now we have 277. Now, again, with this calculation, if I were to show you why this calculation is working, I'll say we have 277 of creativity plus 207 of dribbling plus 54 heading, and thus that gives us 538. The limit is 180 times 3 because 180 is the rule, and we have training in this drill 3 attributes, so 540 is the limit. So we already reached the limit, right? Next, we're gonna go with fitness and speed, and for that we have to calculate the rule 180 times 2 because long run trains fitness and speed. That's 2 attributes, therefore 180 times 2. If you add up the values that you have in fitness and speed, you get that you have 199. And if you subtract 360 minus what you have, you understand that to get to 360, you need 161. And then if you divide that by 2, you will understand that by the time that you have reached the limit, each of those attributes will increase on 80%. And if you divide 161 by 15, well, you understand that every 15 percentage points, you get 1% increase in overall quality. Therefore, you need to make an increase of 10% with all run. Or what is the same to say, by the time you hit 81%, this drill will reach his limit. Now, we have to take this calculation to the heart because every percentage point really matters. When you are making a mutant, you're trying to increase the white attributes and you're not touching the gray attributes, right? Because that double process is what allows you to get the mutant. You increase the whites, and then in the negotiation you drop whatever percentage it is. If you raise 3 levels, you drop 100%. If you reach say 5 levels, you would drop a lot more. But what you're trying to do is increase that ratio. Like, you want those white attributes to be really high and do not change the grays, right? So here again, we're working in creativity. Creativity is a key attribute of an ML. I mean, MR is so important. The winger needs to have that creativity. Once you reach 340, you stop with video analysis and you go to the next attribute that is the most important in a winger, which is dig in the middle. And that's just one reason that you use this drill, and that's passing. And this drill is going to be needing a lot of tackling, and it's going to be needing a lot of aggression, and you're going to have to take care of those, because when I mean a lot, I mean it's going to require that you pay attention to that, and that those values are very, very negative, not just to raise passing, but also for maintenance. So this is what you would do if you wanted to train an MR or an ML, right? The first attribute that you reach 340% is creativity. The second is passing. And these two attributes are so hard to maintain, so hard. And then you can see the rest are very easy. So here, after we reach to 100%, we're gonna send this player, we're gonna transfer this player, we're gonna sell it to an account that is 3 levels higher. So we were now in the level 13 account. We were now in the level 10, and we're gonna sell this player to a level 13. So how much percentage do you think it's gonna have? It was 100%, right? But now it's at 40%. Why? It's because of the difference level. Like, you have 10 in the one that we were just training, and this one that wants to buy the player is 13. So it's like a promotion. It's like a league promotion with times 3. So it's like decreasing, you know, like it's decreasing like 80, 60, 40. And then you can corroborate that the fast trainer table follows exactly the value no matter what level it is, 4, 9, 10, 13, it doesn't matter, at 18, 19-year-olds or 20. And this is very important because sometimes you just are not gonna find something at 18, or you just wanna check if your player is a fast trainer or not, and that's how you do it. Well, here we make the offer and we jump straight back to the seller account, the one that we were just training, and we can see that it is 100%, right? Then we have the offer. We check this team info. This is exactly where the mutant is created when you sell, because we trained the white attributes, we did not change the grays, and now there's gonna be a drop of 20, 60, 80%. So you can see how that's gonna have an effect. So the gray attributes are gonna be decreased way more than the whites, and that is creating a mutant slowly but steady. Now this is a mutant level 8, because previously we did the same process with 5 accounts difference, and now we're doing it with 3. So it is a level 8. So this is a level 8 is not the worst, it's not the best, but it's functional enough so you can use it. Okay, so let's go to training. From here you can see the player here is signed, it's easy now that the grays have decreased. Now the concept here is the same, but we're gonna change some things, because this player is just amazing the way it's going. But when you have a level 8, you're not just gonna train MR, right? Because the gray attributes are now so low that allows you to train something else, like say a double position like MR AMR. Now eventually this player is going to be MR AMR striker, but for now, given the mutation, given the level, given the way that this is the most important concept, given the way that we need to train this player, we need to make sure that hitting and strength are not white attributes. Those need to remain as gray attributes. This is the way you train a level 17 mutant, which is going to be an MR AMR striker. Because if you do this quickly, you're gonna ruin the training drill. The sequence is gonna be off, and there's not gonna be any way to fix it. So here I'm using, like the premium the sponsor to get a little bit more of passing, right? Increase that ratio of white gray attributes. And then we jump straight to the player, and here we already have the AMR. And now I'm gonna train this as I would do to an AMR, right? The first drill is always the same. Whether it's AMR, AMC, striker, it's always pass, go and shoot. And the reason is because once you train the player, once it reaches like say 160, 180, the one attribute that cannot be maintained on a striker or a forward is shooting. Therefore, any amount that you're gonna gain in shooting at the beginning, that's gonna be it. Like if at the beginning you get that 270 shooting, you're not gonna get any more than that ever. And from that point on, every season the player is gonna decrease at 20%. This is why it is so important. Here I'm making the calculation, the same thing the last time. Just add the values that you have in shooting, passing, and speed, and try to find the limit, right? We know that the collective values of that is 479. We have 61 percentage points, and we divide that by 3. Then we know that each attribute is gonna have an increase of 20%. And then we divide 61 by 15, and we know that we need to have an increase of 4% to reach the limit of pass, go, and shoot. And that's what we're gonna do. We train with pass, go, and shoot. Very important, this is just for shooting, right? And notice that previously we did train with the winger, with the MR, but it still works, right? Still works, even if you have high values of passing and speed. Because shooting also does depend on low finishing and low strength and low heading, because you have shooting, then you have wing play, and then you have set piece delivery. So it doesn't affect that you have high passing and high speed with the first drill that you would normally use to increase shooting. So the second one in line, once you reach the limit there at 44% here with this map, is shooting, the shooting technique. Why do I use shooting technique? Like a lot of people will get confused and just go for wing play. Say wing play instead of shooting technique, but with shooting technique what you do is you increase strength and you increase shooting and you increase finishing but you do not increase crossing and you do not increase heading. So if you were to use first the shooting technique, you will actually increase way more shooting than you would do it otherwise. Like if say you do pass, go and shoot, wing play, shooting technique, that will be wrong. If you do pass, go and shoot, shooting technique, wing play, there you go. And there we go. Now here I made a little calculation that I'm not showing you. Actually, I know the value of heading. Like I'm seeing here right now at 1%, but I know for a fact that it's not 1%. And I'm gonna discuss that in a later video because I wanna be very clear and very concise on this one, but for the purpose of understanding, let's just say that it stays like that, right? And for now, we have these values here. 210 for shooting, 205 for finishing, 3 for strength, and we're calculating when is it gonna reach the limit. So collectively we have 418, right? So we need a remaining amount of points to reach to 540, and that's what we're doing. We're getting there. Again, the calculation stays and we reach that point at 80%. Now here, the next drill, as I said previously, is wing play. Wing play is key, it's very important, and it's gonna work with heading, which is a great attribute. In our case, it's not a great attribute because eventually this is gonna turn into a striker. So it's like welcome, the more the better. Here, as I said before, I know the value of heading. I know how negative it is, okay? Here you can see the calculation is 537 from strength, so we reach the limit. So we're now going to add 574 plus 257 plus 253 minus what we already have. Here, I'm not showing you because like I want to show you what will happen. Like if you see this, all you want to know is if those values are going to reach 720. Of course, it's not 1% heading. I'm just putting that the 1% because I'm trying to get your head around the fact that the limit is 720 when you have 4 attributes involved in the drill, but it's not 700. That's not a 1. That is a negative, very, very negative number. So we go now with wing play, and I'm gonna do this drill until I can find heading, until heading is like plus 2% or plus 3%, right? So I can show you the difference. Or say until I find the limit, because this drill is going to be over very, very soon, as you can see in math. Now here, we're going to continue a little bit longer. This drill is actually very, very important. It's even more important than set piece delivery, because set piece delivery uses marking and this one doesn't. Now here's what I was trying to go. You calculate that 186 of crossing plus 269 shooting plus 265 of finishing. Now heading is at 1%, but I know for a fact the number, and I know it's not 1, it's actually -1. So here we reach the limit at 719 with this drill, because the 4 attributes involved in the drill get us to the multiple of 180 times 4. Now, the next drill is you're gonna see how heading is increased. If it is a -1, with this drill, with set piece delivery, you're gonna see it go to positive 2%. This is a little bit faster, so you can just see the value. A little bit more. I think we got it. Yeah, we got it. Here, see that 2%? Now we can start seeing the gray value that we actually want, because this is a value that we would need in a striker. And now we have shooting at 340%, and that's when you stop with set piece delivery. Do not continue with set piece delivery. The only thing that you care with this drill is shooting. Do not use marking. Marking is the last resource that you're gonna have to increase shooting. So if you overuse this drill, you are not gonna be able to increase shooting, and that will be the end. Like shooting is gonna remain at 250% or something like that. So don't overuse this drill. Okay, this is like the last drill that you have to use to complete the sequence. Okay, so next in an AMR, as you can probably guess, it follows the principle that creativity is very important. And here I made some calculations for you just like, you know, wrap your mind around it. I'm gonna use skill drill. You can see that the values involved in heading, dribbling, creativity add up to 462. So we have to reach 540. So we have to get 78 percentage points. You divide that by 15 and you get that we need to increase 5% with this skill drill to get to the limit. And then we're gonna start using another one. Again, this drill uses the most of the attributes that I'm gonna be needing in my 3-position player, right? Even if it uses heading, eventually I'm gonna get into a striker. So there's no problem. And we use that. Again, this is gonna take a long time, a long time. You're gonna feel like if you didn't know the math to know when this drill is gonna run out, when you're not gonna be able to increase it anymore, you could do like 6 sections in a row and you will get 0. Like not even a 1%, and you would think that this drill doesn't work anymore, but it does. That's how annoying it is. It's like it takes so long to gain a 1%. Okay, so here to show you a little bit how we're doing with 100%. We still have a little bit more go. We continue training. Yeah, it takes a long, I mean, I'm cutting this, I'm like editing, but this thing takes like hours, like I'm not kidding. Okay, so here we have reached 102%. We check if the drill has reached its limit. We have 50 heading, we have 177 dribbling, and we have 311 of creativity. So we add those values and collectively they should be around 540, which as you can see, 538. So we did reach the limit. Now we're going to a next concept. This is a complex concept I don't want to explain, but we're going to be using negative values. I know the values that this player have right now in positioning and in bravery, which are negative, but for the purpose of this video, to make it short, to make it concise, to make you understand how a mutant is created and how are you supposed to understand the drill sequence in say a level 5 or a level 8 mutant, I'm not going to go too much into negative values. They're going to be a substitute for some higher level mutant, because when you go to level 12 you do need those negative values like desperate. You need to calculate, you need to understand that, but for now we can do it without it, trust me. So video analysis, all we want from video analysis again is creativity at 340%. We do not care about anything else. So do not continue with this drill training positioning. Do not take this drill to the limit of 180. Do not use this drill until it's run out and you cannot use it anymore. Use it like this: creativity 340, bail out, continue to the next one. And the next one for this particular case will be passing. So you're seeing passing, dribbling, and finishing. These 3 are the most important. So you see the priority of a striker, right? Of a forward. Like you need shooting, 1, that's the most important. You need creativity, and then you need dribbling, finishing, and passing. Those 3 are in the same. And with a mutant you can do them, I mean, at the same time, simultaneously, because really you have negative values to do them all without worries. So in this case we use 1-on-1 until we have finishing at 340. Okay, this is going to be the last drill that you're going to have in your disposals, in your tool arsenal, to increase finishing to 340. There is no other drill. So be very careful again with tackling. Tackling needs to be very, very negative, because this drill is going to take a lot of that to circumvent the rule of 140 and have a very, very, very high negative value. So dribbling and finishing can increase, especially finishing, without compromising, you know, the perfection of finishing. So once you get that, here we go, finishing 340. Let's see if we get there. Should be sooner rather than later. Okay, so we're playing a little bit just to show you. Okay, let's just wait, because it seems I don't like to edit. Seems I like to show this for the non-believers that it actually does happen. So we have here 120%, right? And we go now to the player and we see that we reach finishing at 340, right? We do not have to continue with this drill by increasing dribbling once we reach finishing, because as I said, this is the last tool that you have to increase finishing, so use it only for it. And now we're going to increase speed and fitness, because those values still have a long way to go to 360, which is, you know, you have two values. You use long run, therefore 180 times 2, 360. You have 292. There is 68 percentage points to go to 360. So we're going to use long run and increase a 4% the average quality of this player. And you're going to see now that fitness is very important. Like, it's going to determine how often a player is going to perform well. Like, you can have all the main attributes like really high, but if you do not have fitness, let's say the player is going to perform well, say 10 times, it's going to perform well 4 times out of 10. If you have higher fitness, it's going to perform 5 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, and so on. So you have to increase fitness. And this is just to show you here the drills that I'm putting together. Is if you were to have, say, a level 8, and you weren't to continue the next step that I'm going to do now, these are the drills that I will use to the limit, right? Set this delivery, and I will use this to increase crossing, pick in the middle to increase passing, stop the attacker to increase dribbling, gym, use gym after pick in the middle, okay? Because you need to increase passing and you need that fitness to be low. Then use gym to increase fitness in one line of defense for, say, positioning, and Kayoka with ladders for speed. And of course I would do 6 of each to the limit 180 rule, but this is just to show you the drill sequence that I would do if say I were to stop right here, right? After long run, I will use that drill sequence, because most people are not going to get to the next step, that is creating a higher level mutant, because I'm not going for 8, I'm not going for 12, I'm going for 17. And if you take into account the promotion and the time that I have to wait between each transfer, it's actually going to be 18, 19, 20. It's going to be a mutant level 20. So here I'm going to show you how, if you were to continue with this step, like making him a better mutant, in the time that you have to wait, you're gonna power train the player by making him win the man of match, and you get 4 points, right, in each Y attributes. And you put the arrow, the forward arrow, you go to the tactic, you put for the flank that it is, say right tactic, right flank, and here I won 4-0, right, the first match that this player played. And you can see it got a really good rating, 9.8, and he gained 4% in shooting right from the first match. And we're going to be training this player the next season when the negotiations open. So there's a lot of games in Cup, Champions, and League for this player to get a 4%. So that is another way that you continue power training this and increasing that ratio of white and grays. See here, it's 10 in form, 1 goal, 1 assist, man of the match, the first game that I play. So I already tested that player. I know it's good. I know it's going to continue to be trained. And next time that we see it, it's going to have, it's going to be more efficient for once. Another thing that I wanted to review is when the negotiations open, people do somehow come to the negotiation tab. I don't know, why do you do that? You see the players that are here are like disgusting, you know? These are not players that were trained on the Y attributes, and then the grays were not, and then there was a negotiation to drop those grays and increase the rate. There was none of that. So these players are average. If you want a mutant, you need a friend, you need an account. You need to go to the friend list and you need to say, look, like here, say I were to be a level 17 next season, and I have a friend at level 13, which is the account that we just work on, and we just buy from there. And you can see all that training, all the things, all the work that we previously did is gonna make us get to see this negative values, 1% high Y attributes. But that's gonna be for next season, because this season is you cannot buy a player for say twice in the same period. I would love to keep showing you, but as you can read here, you know, you can only make 1 transfer per season. So I'll be seeing you later and explaining more amazing concepts and stuff. Bye.